Good morning, friends. Today, we are going to look at the Mauryan Empire. So we're first going to figure out what they were. We're going to look at the geography and how that affected them. We are going to look at the results of their Golden Age, and we're going to look at the reasons why the Mauryan Empire declined. So the first thing we want to do is fill in the map on page 47 in your workbook. And you can use text boxes to do that. Okay, now I would start really at the top. You have the Hindu Kush Mountains here, right? And then the biggest mountain range in the world, the highest anyway, the Himalaya Mountains. The Himalaya Mountains are going to have a big impact on Indian history because, as the highest mountains in the world, it's going to be very hard for Indian rulers to expand. They're not going to be able to expand past the Himalayas. So here we're talking about Asia. We know that the Indian subcontinent is part of Asia. You've got the Middle East over here. Remember, these are region. This is a region. This is a continent. Here is the Indus River, which goes here and out to the Arabian Sea. This is the Arabian Sea. Here is the Bay of Bengal. So you could do those in blue, showing the water. And the Indian Ocean would be down here. So you could add that. Mine doesn't have it. It should, though. All right, so the Indus River. Another very famous and important river to the Indian people is the Ganges River, which is right here. It is considered holy, sacred. It is a spiritual honor to bathe in the Ganges, even though it is one of the most polluted rivers in the world. But it is important to Indian history, and it is considered holy. Here is the Deccan Plateau. Remember, a plateau is a high, flat land. And then you've got two mountain ranges. You've got the Western Ghats here and the Eastern Ghats here. So again, mountains are going to limit the ability to expand into the coastal regions as well. All right. So you are going to label your map. What I would do is stop the video and take some time to fill out your map. Okay? And that should not be on there. All right. Press play when you're ready to continue. All right, my friends, let's look a little bit more closely at the geography of the Mauryan Empire. Well, the first thing we need to know is that the Mauryan Empire expanded over almost all of modern-day India. So Chandragupta and Bindusara and then Ashoka are the main emperors we're going to look at. We know that India is a peninsula. Remember the term peninsula. It's an area of land that is surrounded by water on three sides. So you have the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, and the Bay of Bengal to the east. Definitely a peninsula. Remember, you can stop this video at any time to finish typing in your notes. And just remember to hit play to keep going. You can do it. We know that the Himalaya Mountains separated India from the rest of East Asia, which includes China. But again, it also limited expansion within India. The Hindu Kush Mountains to the northwest will separate India from the Middle East. It wasn't impossible to get through the Hindu Kush. It was just a little harder. Certainly easier than traveling through the Himalaya mountain range. High rainfall from monsoons would lead to flooding. Now, let's talk a little bit about monsoons. Monsoons are not rain. Monsoons are seasonal winds that bring either rain or hot, dry air. So at one time of the year, the monsoons will go from east to west. And because it crosses over the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean, these winds will carry a lot of rain with them. So that's what brings the high rainfall, which causes the flooding. It's not just that it rains a lot. It's these monsoon winds bring that moisture. Then in another part of the year, the wind goes from east to west. And because it's coming from a warmer climate, it's bringing hot, dry air, which can cause droughts. So this would be in the winter. You can have droughts because the monsoon winds are not bringing moisture. They're bringing just dry, hot air. And that frequently caused people to have to move from place to place during the early period of the Mauryan Empire. Because of the winds, it was often hard to maintain a surplus of food throughout the year, and not just because of the winds. You've got mountainous land as well. So often, the Indian people relied on sea trade to get the food that they needed. So they would travel over the Bay of Bengal to East Asia. So the sea was very important. And because the empire became so large, particularly under Ashoka, there were several different languages in different parts of the empire in India. So just the sheer size of it had an impact on language. All right, my friends. Now, one thing, let me get rid of that. There you go. One thing I want you to notice on page 48 in your workbook, it says numerous groups with different cultures invaded South Asia, so invaded India through the Khyber Pass, which is part of the it's in the Hindu Kush Mountains. It's pretty famous, actually. And so even though there's mountains there, that pass did allow a lot of different groups to come through to trade and some to invade. And what will end up happening is they'll bring their religious ideas with them, and those religious ideas will kind of add on to a lot of the different Hindu ideas that exist in India. So I didn't want you to think that no one went through the Hindu Kush Mountains, because the Khyber Pass is pretty important. All right, now let's look at the empire itself. Okay, Chandragupta is Ashoka's great grandfather, not great, just his grandfather. And he starts to expand the Maurya Empire in 322 BCE. The Mauryan Empire will last until around 184 BCE. Chandragupta will centralize the power of the government, which means it will have one strong central government that controlled different parts of the empire. So they had control over all of these different kingdoms that they conquered, that he conquered. Chandragupta had his own secret police that would watch for treason, and punishment for treason was death. So very highly centralized government, very powerful, located in one place, and it was also hierarchical. So different levels of government. And the government would regulate all aspects. So tax collection, trade, industry, mining. They dealt with foreigners, maintaining public markets and temples. So this government really had control over pretty much all aspects. So you've got this strong centralized government, and then they would divide the rest of the empire into provinces, so into separate districts. And the villages were governed by centrally appointed local officials. So the government, the main government under Chandragupta, would choose these local officials in different provinces to govern their little area. That's what that means. Right, we're moving on to page 49. So Ashoka will come to power in 269 after defeating his brother in battle. And he is going to continue to conquer other kingdoms and a whole series of very brutal wars. And in 261 BCE, Ashoka and his army won the Battle of Kalinga. And it's this battle that will completely change not only Ashoka's life, not just how he lived his life, but all of his actions as a ruler. So he is trying to conquer this area of Kalinga, and over 100,000 people were killed in that battle. And some 50,000 were forced to leave their homes, one, because they were destroyed, but two, because they were taken as slaves. So this is a huge battle with huge numbers of deaths. And it said that Ashoka felt profound sorrow and regret for the slaughter, death, and deportation his war caused. These are his own words. Okay, so this causes Ashoka to realize the impact of his expansion, this negative impact. He felt so incredibly sorrowful, and he was so full of regret. Because of this, because of the results of the Battle of Kalinga, even though they won, he will convert to the peaceful religion of Buddhism. And he will start to base all of his decisions and policies on Buddhist teachings. All because of the effects of the Battle of Kalinga. Now I'm going to show you a little video here that does a little review of that battle.
In this module, you will learn about Ashoka, one of the greatest emperors of India. The Mauryan Empire reached its height during King Ashoka's reign. Ashoka the greatest and most famous of all Mauryan emperors, was the son of Bindusara and the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. Before becoming a king, he expanded the Mauryan Empire by engaging in numerous wars and battles. 8 years after becoming an emperor, Ashoka set his eyes on Kalinga, the modern-day coastal Orissa. Soon, a bloody war was fought to conquer Kalinga. By the time the war ended, more than 1 lakh people had perished, and about 1.5 lakh people were taken prisoners. Despite his success, he was devastated by the violence and brutality of war. After seeing the destruction, he converted to Buddhism and started teaching Buddhist values, like respect for each other and tolerance, to his people. However, as a practical ruler, he did not allow slavery and death penalty for heinous crimes. He appointed several officers as Dhamma Mahamattas who traveled places preaching Dhamma.
Dhamma meaning Dharma.
To build an empire whose people are united in their knowledge of Dhamma and its values,
Dharma.
He put up edicts throughout his empire. These edicts urged the citizens to act morally and to take responsibility for their actions. To spread the message, edicts and inscriptions were scattered all over the empire. Walls, rocks, pillars, and caves with messages were located at places where a lot of people were expected to come. Ashoka then appointed officers to read the message to the people, and thus help Buddhism reach new heights. He sent his messengers, including son Mahendra and daughter Sanghamitra, to other lands such as Syria, Egypt, Greece, and Sri Lanka to preach Dhamma.
Dharma.
Ashoka ruled for almost 40 years. After the Kalinga War, the land never saw any war. 50 years after his death, the Mauryan Empire came to an end. Ashoka passed away about 2,000 years ago, but he left behind his empire of truthfulness, dharma, non-violence, compassion, and love of subjects. You have now reached the end of the module on Ashoka. In this module, you learned that Ashoka was the son of Bindusara and the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. He was a fierce warrior and an able administrator. Nearly 8 years after becoming the emperor of the Mauryan Empire, he fought his first war as a king and conquered the kingdom of Kalinga. The war left him heartbroken and ashamed of his actions. He converted to Buddhism and spread Dhamma far and wide by putting up edicts and appointing Dhamma Mahamattas. Under him, people led a peaceful life of tolerance and economic progress, making the Mauryan Empire one of the strongest of its time.
Perfect. All right, let's go back. Now what I want to do is talk more about these rock and pillar edicts. Okay, these were his laws, and they looked very similar to this on the pillars, but they were also, like the video said, placed on rocks as well. And if you look at the triangles in this map, it shows you the location of the pillar edicts, and the black squares show you the rock edicts, and then you have minor rock edicts here. So the major ones, if you notice, are located on the very edges of the empire. These are the locations where anyone coming in would have to see them. So they would know going into the empire what the laws and rules were. And of course, Ashoka will base those on the teachings of Buddhism. So let's look at these rock and pillar edicts. So we're still on page 49 in your workbook. A lot of what are in these rock and pillar edicts, remember, an edict is just another word for a law. So a lot of these talked about religious freedom and toleration. So toleration of those who practiced all other religions. So within Ashoka's empire, there was religious tolerance. He instructed his government officials to help the poor and the elderly, which was something that Chandragupta and Bindusara did not do. He commanded obedience to parents and elders and generosity to priests, no matter what their religion was. All right, let us get rid of this and we will move on. All right, we're going to look at the Mauryan Golden Age. Okay, Ashoka established a single currency throughout the whole empire. Remember, that's important because each region had its own. So if you have one currency that's good throughout the whole empire, it makes trade a whole lot easier and more successful. He created a network of regional governors and administrators that helped him govern all of these different areas within the empire. He was one of the first to establish a civil service system. This is a system where you have to pass a test in order to get a certain government job. It's solely based on merit or skill or knowledge, not based on your social class or who you know or how much money and all of that. You have to be able to prove that you are knowledgeable. And of course, the tests were based on Buddhist principles. He provided justice and security for merchants, farmers, and traders. Ashoka created a fair system of taxation throughout the whole empire. He funded public work projects like roads and sanitation issues, helped build buildings and temples, hospitals. Here we go. So he sponsored the construction of roads, waterways, canals, rest homes, and hospitals. What's important about the government giving money for these projects is think of all of the jobs that these create. So not only are these roads being built, waterways being improved, canals being built, hospitals being established, not only are those things happening, but it's providing jobs for everyone doing the construction of these things and working in these things. So very important. All right, we are on page 50 in your workbook, and we're going to talk now about the decline of the Mauryan Empire. So several reasons why Ashoka's empire declined. It was very expensive to maintain a huge army. Now, remember, there was no fighting going on, but the army was needed to protect merchants and traders. people going to temples and things like that. So that's expensive. The government, having so many people, the bureaucracy are all of those people that work for the centralized government. And we know that he had a fairly large bureaucracy. So those people had to be paid. So even though they did have a fair taxation system, it was very expensive. Another issue is the fact that Ashoka gave large donations to Buddhist monks, and this definitely assisted in draining government funds. So those both were problems. As with any large empire, the size will eventually cause problems. And we know that the Mauryan Empire controlled almost all of the Indian subcontinent and some small areas of what is today Afghanistan. So it was so large that it made communication hard, it made moving troops around quickly more difficult. So those are a problem with any empire of large size. Look at what happened to the Romans, same thing. And his own policies encouraged revolts by different Buddhist groups within the empire. After Ashoka died, a Brahmin, a priest general, actually killed his successor to the throne. And this ended the Mauryan Empire. Another reason for the decline, and again, this is very similar to the Roman Empire, possibly the Mayans. Ashoka was very busy with his missionary activities. Missionaries are people who go abroad and spread religion. Well, he was very interested in spreading Buddhist ideas. So while he is sending people abroad and into different areas to promote Buddhist ideas, he wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to the borders. There were Greeks who invaded and other groups as well. And Ashoka was unable to push those invaders out. All right, let's do a little review. All right. So in this one, we're going to look at Rome, Maurya, or both. Okay. So number one, established a civil service exam to get government jobs. Does that describe the Maurya Empire, the Roman Empire, or both? I want you to turn the video off. I want you to go to your workbook, draw an oval there and fill it and make it a transparent fill. And then pick the right answer. When you're done, just hit play and we'll review it. All right, my friends, what did you put? Establishing a civil service exam to get government jobs. Does that describe the Mauryan Empire, the Roman Empire, or both? Oh, I hope you picked one, because that would be correct. The Romans did not have a civil service system. The jobs that you got were based on your social class. Okay, number two. Practiced Buddhism. Is that the Maurya Empire, the Roman Empire, or both? Okay, stop the video, go to your workbook, answer the question. You can copy and paste your oval so you don't have to do it again. And then just hit play and we'll review it. All right, my friends, what'd you get? Practiced Buddhism. Is that the Maurya Empire, Roman Empire, or both? I know what you picked. You picked one, didn't you? And you would be correct. Yay! Remember that the Romans initially were polytheistic. They believed in many gods. And then the empire converted to Christianity. So, nope, not Buddhists. Hope you got that right. All right, number 3. The size of the empire made it difficult to maintain. Is that describing the Mauryan Empire, the Roman Empire, or both? So turn the video off, go to your workbook, answer the question, and then press play to review. All right, friends, which one did you pick? I know which one I picked. I picked both. Remember, the Roman Empire was huge, and that was one of its downfalls. Made it hard to maintain an empire of that size, and that became the case with the Mauryan Empire as well. Good job, my friends. All right, what I want to do now is just do a little practice with the Rock and Pillar Edicts. So the reading is on page 53 in your workbook. It starts on 53. It ends on 55, I believe. The questions start on 55. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to read this out loud. I want you guys to either listen or read along with me, and then we'll answer the questions on page 55. Okay, these are Ashoka's Rock and Pillar Edicts, his laws. All men are my children. What I desire for my own children, and I desire their wealth and happiness both in this world and the next, that I desire for all men. Your aim should be to act with impartiality, with fairness. It is because of these things, envy, anger, cruelty, hate, indifference, laziness, or tiredness, that such a thing does not happen. Therefore, your aim should be, may these things not be in me. Failure in duty on your part will not please me, but done properly, it will win you heaven, and you will be discharging your debts to me. Number 10. Happiness in this world and the next is difficult to obtain without much love for the Dharma, much self-examination, much respect, much fear, and much enthusiasm. But through my instruction, this regard for Dharma and love of Dharma has grown day by day and will continue to grow. And my officers of high, low, and middle rank are practicing and conforming to Dharma and are capable of inspiring others to do the same. Mahamatras, those are those officials that he trained to teach Dharma, in border areas are doing the same. And these are my instructions: to protect with Dharma, to make happiness through Dharma, and to guard with Dharma. Okay, line 19. King Ashoka honors both ascetics, religious people, and the householders of all religions. By doing so, one's own religion benefits, and so do other religions, while doing otherwise harms one's own religion and the religion of others. Whoever praises his own religion due to excessive devotion and condemns others with the thought, let me glorify my own religion, only harms his own religion. Therefore, contact between religion is good. One should listen to and respect the doctrines professed by others. line 26. Whatever good deeds have been done by me, those the people accept and those they follow. Therefore, they have progressed and will continue to progress by being respectful to mother and father, respectful to elders, by courtesy to the aged and proper behavior toward Brahmins and ascetics, toward the poor and distressed, and even toward servants and employees. Line 31. There is no gift like the gift of Dharma. One benefits in this world and gains great merit in the next by giving the gift of Dharma, following your duties. Line 34. Therefore, this Dharma edict has been written to last long, and that my sons, grandsons, and great-grandsons might act in conformity with it for the welfare of the world. However, this is difficult to do without great exertion. In other words, effort. All right, now we're going to go to page 55. And we're going to answer the 4 questions here. So, question number 1, what was the historical circumstances that led to the creation of this edict? Okay, remember that's the what happened at the time or led up to the creation of this particular rock and pillar edict. Okay, so turn the video off, please. Answer your question in your workbook. Remember, your answer should not be the same necessarily as mine. The ideas should be similar, but you and I think differently, and you're going to word yours differently. Okay, so stop the video, answer the question, and then hit play when you're ready to review. All right, my friends, welcome back. So we're talking about historical circumstances that led to the creation of the rock and pillar edicts. Okay. Here's what I said. And again, your answers might be different. I said King Ashoka, ruler of the Mauryan Empire, was horrified by the thousands of deaths and displaced people after his battle at Kalinga. After that, he converted to Buddhism and based his laws and policies, in other words, the rock and pillar edicts, on peaceful Buddhist teachings. As long as your answer is similar in there, we're good. Okay, and remember, you can stop the video if you want to add stuff to your answer. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. All right, number 2, who is the intended audience for this document? Okay, so stop the video, go answer the question, please, and then press play to review. Welcome back, my friends. So I want to know, who is the intended audience for this rock and pillar edict? Okay, I said the intended audience is all of the people who were part of Ashoka's empire, as well as those thinking of staying there. Remember, the majority of the actual rock and pillar edicts were placed along the borders where people would be coming in, so that those coming in, whether it be to trade or to live, would see them. So the audience is anyone who is part of the empire or traveling through the empire. Okay, good job. Let's look at number 3. Identify the purpose of this document. All right, you know the drill. I want you to turn the video off, answer the question in your workbook, and then when you come back, we'll press play and you can review your answer. All right, my friends, welcome back. All right, we're going to identify the purpose of this rock and pillar edict. Now, I went more general with this answer. I made it apply to more of all of the Rock and Pillar Edicts. So I said the purpose of this document, part of the Rock and Pillar Edicts, was to let the people know what the ruler expected of them and what ideas he supported. This is a way to consolidate and maintain Ashoka's power. Now, this is true. Could you have said other things? Absolutely. You could have said that the purpose of this document was to get the people to follow Buddhist ideas. You could say that the purpose of this document was to get people to honor their dharma, their duties in life, because that would please Ashoka and it would ensure that they have a better life once they are reincarnated. Okay, so there are so many different ways you could go with this answer. I just did one. That does not make your answers wrong. So you do not have to go and change yours. All right. Let's look at document 4. How might this document be best used by historians? All right. Stop the video, answer the question, and then press play to review your answer. All right, friends, welcome back. Okay, again, this is one possible answer. I said this document could best be used by historians to discover how Ashoka ruled, what he based his ideas on, and what he expected of those he ruled and those who worked for him. Now, that is, again, a very general answer. I could have said a historian might use this document to see which Buddhist ideas Ashoka wanted his followers to follow. It could be to explain why his advisors would be in the different regions to teach people about Dharma and things like that. So again, your answer isn't necessarily wrong if it's different from mine, as long as it makes sense. All right, so keep that in mind. You don't necessarily have to change it. All right, guess what? It's time for a CRQ. Oh yeah, CRQ. Oh yeah, we like those. All right. So let's take a peek at this. All right, the question we're answering is describe the historical circumstances that led to Ashoka creating the Rock and Pillar Edicts above. So let's just read through document 1. All right. Pillar Edict 2. Dharma is good. But what constitutes Dharma? It includes little evil, much good, kindness, generosity, truthfulness, and purity. Okay, Rock Edict 3. The Yuktas, subordinate offers, and Pradasikas, district heads, along with Rajukas, rural officers, shall go to all areas of the kingdom every 5 years and spread the Dharma policy of Ashoka. Okay, Pillar 4. It is my desire that there should be uniformity in law and uniformity in sentencing. I even go this far to grant a 3-day stay for those in prison who have been tried and sentenced to death. During this time, their relatives can make appeals to have the prisoners' lives spared. If there is none to appeal on their behalf, the prisoners can give gifts in order to make merit for the next world or observe fasts. All right, my friends. So you're going to describe the historical circumstances that led to the creation of the Rock and Pillar Edicts above. Okay, so turn the video off, answer question number 1, and then when you're ready to review, just hit play. All right, my friends, welcome back. Okay, here's my answer. Very similar to what I said earlier. Ashoka, ruler of the Mauryan Empire, after of the Battle of Kalinga, converted to the peaceful religion of Buddhism. He based all his government policies and laws on Buddhist principles. He used these to unify his empire and maintain order and stability. He had his edicts placed around the empire so all would know his laws. That is a good general description. Doesn't mean yours is wrong, as long as it's similar. Again, you are describing what led up to him creating either the Rock and Pillar Edicts in general or the specific ones in document 1. Okay. Let's go on to document 2. Okay, question 2 always deals with document 2. So the question is, based on this excerpt, explain the purpose for establishing the requirements described above. So we want to know purpose this time. And let's look at document 2. This is from the 12 tables. Remember, the 12 tables were the Romans' law code. Okay, so we'll start with the first one. A dreadfully deformed child shall be killed. If a father surrender his son for sale 3 times, the son shall be free. That one always gets me. Our ancestors saw fit that females, by reason of levity of disposition, shall remain in guardianship, even when they have attained their majority. So because women are so delicate and sweet, they shall remain under the control of a man even when they turn 18. All right, the next one. If a man and woman live together for a year, they are considered to be married. The woman legally is treated as the man's daughter. Yeah, you heard me. Okay, the next one. If a person has maimed another's limb, let there be retaliation in kind. So let him get his arm broken, unless he agrees to make compensation with them. Doesn't that remind you of the Code of Hammurabi? That's what it reminds me of. All right, the next one. If a patron shall defraud his client, he must be solemnly forfeited. So he must be killed. Putting to death of any man who has not been convicted, whosoever he might be, is forbidden. Marriage shall not take place between a patrician and a plebeian. And then the last one. Whatever the people, the government, has last ordained, has said last, be held as binding by law. All right, so the question is, based on this excerpt, explain the purpose for establishing the requirements or laws described above. So turn the video off, type a response, and then we will review. Welcome back, friends. All right. The 12 tables of law. Let's see. The purpose. Okay. So I said this document is part of the Roman 12 tables of law. The purpose was to unify the Roman Empire under the same law, as well as to help the Romans maintain their power. Okay. There are so many things you could have said instead of my answer. These excerpts are to make sure that all citizens within the Roman Empire understand what they can and cannot do. This law was a way of unifying the empire and creating order and stability within the large empire. There's so many things. So again, your answer might not be the same as mine, and that's okay as long as your answer is logical and makes sense. All right. Now we go to question 3, which is asking for a relationship between documents 1 and 2. So let's see which relationship we're looking at. Question 3 says identify, so what was it, and explain a similarity or a difference associated with the historical developments in documents 1 and 2. Be sure to use evidence from both documents in your response. All right, so you're going to stop the video, and I would like you to go through documents 1 and 2. They are both law codes. So look at what is a similarity and what is a difference and give evidence. All right, so turn the video off, answer the question, press play when you're ready to review. Okay, my friends, welcome back. Please, please, please remember that your answers are probably not going to be the same as mine, okay? All right, I said one difference between the developments in both documents is the severity of the laws. So here, I identified a difference, okay? One difference is the severity of the laws, meaning one is more severe than the other. All right, so identified. All right, now I have to use evidence from both documents. See what I did? I used parentheses and I listed documents 2 and document 1 so that the reader can see where I got information from. This is an easy way when we're grading Regents exams of saying, did you use evidence from both documents? I see this, and say, oh, yep, they did. Good. Now I can just read it to see what they wrote. All right, so it's not a bad idea to do it that way. All right, so I said under Roman law, which is document 2, a person could be put to death for committing many different crimes, even fraud, which is something, that we don't think of as punishable by death. Okay, so that's Roman law. Under Ashoka's Rock and Pillar Edicts, however, the law was more compassionate. For example, it states that if someone is sentenced to death, the family could actually appeal to the government for sparing that person's life. See, and I got that last sentence right from document 1. Okay, again, there are so many different ways you could go about answering this question. As long as it makes sense and as long as you use evidence from both documents, you are good. All right. So that is it, my friends, the end of the Mauryan Empire. What we're going to look at next is the Gupta Empire, which appeared after the Mauryan. All right. So until next time, my friends, we will talk again soon.